I've been thinking about the Dame Drew trade and just how good of a get Robert Williams is for the Blazers. Health obviously is the big thing with him. It always has been. And he seems to be a guy who just can never play a full season. But when he does, he is really valuable. I think he's the best asset they got for sure. Definitely better than any assets they could have gotten elsewhere. I mean, definitely more valuable than Hero to me, especially in the context of the Blazers, given all of their guards. But we're going to get into his defense, and I think he pairs really interesting with Ayton as a defender, which we'll dive into. But Williams' mobility and perimeter defense are phenomenal. They are one of the best in the league among centers and true 7-footers with his size and length, where he can drop and stuff out James Harden right here, recover to PJ Tucker, close out, change directions. I absolutely love this camera angle that we get here to see Robert Williams. Awesome footwork and mobility in action. And now we are back to the normal camera, unfortunately, but he is a monster weak side rim protector. One of the best shot blockers in the league for sure. The bounce, the length, look how quick he is off the floor. And at this point, his timing and his technique are great. He's so good high pointing the ball at its apex and smacking it off the window to retain possession for his team. He impacts the game like crazy as a rim protector. And he's overall a fantastic defensive playmaker, much better than Ayton for sure, where he's so great with his reflexes and using his crazy standing reach and length to get steals and blocks and deflections and just to make life really hell for whoever he's guarding and offense is trying to go around him. He makes passes that look safe and are safe against most defenders, not safe and risks, where Scotty definitely thinks he can just lob this over to Pirtle, who has a step, but nope, not when you're against Time Lord, who's going to go up and snatch that ball and keep it in bounds like a cool little volleyball tap there. The weak side stuff is just unbelievable. And he's really used to playing in two big defenses, which I think is going to bode well for his transition to playing with Ayton, where he played a lot with Al, who would often guard the perimeter more, and he's good at taking these switches, little switches or handoffs in the paint and contesting accordingly, not getting lost or fouling or being overly jumpy, which is a problem he definitely has and we'll get into. And again, he's not going to be able to hang with the strong, burly bigs who are driving right at his chest, like Sabonis or Jokic or any of these guys. Embiid, of course, on these kind of plays. But I think DeAndre Ayton is really solid at that, and that's one of his best skills. But yeah, this is definitely a weakness for Williams, is the strength and the balance and the center of gravity stuff has never been great for him, especially given just how lanky and explosive he is. He just isn't super great in that way. And as a help defender, he can just be way too jumpy and out of position. He wins a ton with his insane athletic tools, which just works a lot of the time. But that means the positioning and the technique can be sloppy because he gets away with it, where Time Lord's abandoning his man here, just watching the ball, almost gets his fingertips on that, but again, is out of position to contest Clark and just goes for a swipe at the ball instead of actually getting in the way and trying to contest vertical, which is something Ayton does better. Again, another weakness they cover of each other's, but you can really see Time Lord just gambling for this and swiping in, and he ends up missing. Clark is one of the most acrobatic finishers in the league, and that's not going to fly at the highest level against the best bigs and the best finishers in the NBA. And the needless gambles have always been an issue with him, where, again, just keep your positioning, stay down, and contest Allen when he gets it. You're in great positioning to stop Garland, read the pass. His processing is definitely a little slow, which probably is also another reason why he gambles so much and isn't able to consistently make good plays in terms of discipline and positioning and just not being insanely jumpy all the time, where, again, we see plays where he's able to win with his length despite being very jumpy and all over the place and not settling down and flailing his arms all over. But he's undeniably a fantastic defensive player. I think EPM and other defensive metrics grade him out towards the top of the league, and I think that's probably fair given how impactful his playmaking and movement are as a big. And Ayton is definitely not that level of defender. He never has been. And this last season especially, I think, was pretty worrisome, largely just because he didn't look engaged. Simply put, it just didn't really look like he gave a shit in a lot of these games, especially in playoff moments where I think even like Biombo was more effective down the stretch for him. But Ayton is just has always had a motor issue, and it's definitely fair to wonder, like, is he going to replicate this kind of low effort when he's more like reinvigorated and hopefully in a better environment in Portland? There's always been stuff with him off the court in terms of like coaching disputes or whatever in Phoenix. So maybe like if his head's in the right place, but just not going to give you a ton of resistance like fighting around screens, especially against the growing number of big men in the NBA who actually run these kind of actions. Like Jaren, of course, is another one, Porzingis. But again, having Time Lord is going to really help because Time Lord is much better chasing around screens, using his length and crazy motor to recover. Time Lord, not someone who really like falls asleep. His gambles are misplaced, as we often saw, but he's always like jumping and trying to make an impact, which I do appreciate, even if it's not always perfect. And the rim protection with Ayton is just not great. It never has been super impactful, where especially this season when it just looked like he was mailing it in, like he gets in position right here and just doesn't offer any sort of contest. And against any NBA player, let alone Donovan Mitchell, one of the best in the world, that's just not going to work. And when Ayton does get beat, he just doesn't have the length or the explosiveness to recover and get blocks and contests, as has been an issue his whole career, where he's a pretty decent mover, but even the old man Bogdanovich can beat him to the rim, and he just doesn't have the reach there to impact Bogdanovich's shot. The crafty vet is always going to score on people, and it's really impressive. And he just doesn't provide much rim protection, even when he is giving more effort. Players will kind of just fly through him, as he doesn't love to jump up and contest in this primary rim protection spot. And because of that, players get a lot of easy shots when he should be so much more solid, because Ayton is a player who wins with his positioning primarily, getting in space to use his great strength and frame to get guys away and not allow them to get in that kind of position right at the rim anyways. And when he can't do that, it isn't always great. The effort and drop as well just wasn't fantastic, as he has no reason to be as high up on Ja as he is given Landale's dig, and he's just not aware of what's going on behind him at all, which is, of course, his responsibility as a backline defender in any sort of coverage, really. But Ayton's pick and roll defense and movement when he's on are really impressive. Another example of just not having the greatest effort, verticality, sticking with this switch here. Obviously, it's Jokic and Aaron Gordon, so whatever. But point being, it just isn't high level at all. But Ayton's mobility and flashes and drop have always been incredible. Going back to college, where his size and mobility stood out, where he can get low and be active, moving his feet, he's scanning, he uses his length and kind of reach, I guess, to block the shot. Really great getting this on the way up before Jamal can, get into his shot motion. But this is great stuff, and this is what Time Lord isn't great at. He's not the greatest in terms of just like drop positioning or footwork, and he also just didn't do it as much ever in his career, so he doesn't have as much experience playing it. But that's probably where Ayton is best as a defender, I would say, assuming the effort is better, which I guess I hope it will be for this thing to work. And again, he can make some really like Herculean contests when, as I mentioned before, he wins with positioning. He beats Walker Kessler to his spot. And of course, yeah, like a more cerebral player might try to make this pass, but he walls up Walker Kessler, a very big dude. He cannot move him at all. Like, the physical tools are freakish in terms of strength and physicality when Ayton chooses to use them. Again, we see him working in drop really impressively, sticking to De'Aaron Fox right here, but not totally abandoning Sabonis here, which is, again, kind of an issue that he does at the end here. Again, but this is a late switch anyways. At this point, we see how good the mobility, how great he is sitting down and sliding and opening up his hips and taking away drives. It's really good stuff, and when Ayton taps into this consistently, it looks really good. But that's, of course, going to be a big if. But Ayton's never really played with a defender like Time Lord before, where Robert Williams' crazy mobility and verticality and defensive rim protection, and his ability to cover for mistakes is really huge, especially as DeAndre Ayton is kind of a mistake-prone defender, and has been for a lot of his career. So, but I think Ayton also covers some for Rob in terms of primary defense. Like, he's going to play more of the Al Horford role. Obviously, the defense is going to be very different, and I think Blazers fans should be very happy that they do not have to have Nurkic anchoring their defense in any capacity, because that was not great last year and the last couple years. But it's going to be a lot better. And I think offensive fit's going to be weird and a question that I have for sure. But Time Lord is a fantastic defender. I think he's probably a complementary defender, like not like an anchor scheme-defining defender, but he's one of the best in the league in that role. And Ayton, hopefully with improved effort and engagement throughout the season and the postseason, assuming, within the next couple years that if Ayton stays, they can make it, then this could be a really interesting and solid defensive pairing to hopefully make up for whatever defensive deficiencies they have at guard with rookie Scoot, and Shaden was one of the worst defenders in the league last year, and Simons isn't an amazing defender either. But I've been rambling too long. This is going to be a fascinating pairing, and I'm really excited to watch it.